What's going on? It's the Big Rig Bull, Texas truck accident lawyer, Reshard Alexander. Here again on a Thursday. Well, one major difference with this office is that it is freezing cold in here until about 5 or 6 o'clock. Absolutely freezing. Also, now it seems I have to hire someone to clean my office. Well, they have people here that will clean your office, but now you have to pay them, I guess, which is weird. I don't know, maybe because I'm accustomed to the work style and how everything there was just kind of covered or paid for off gate. So now I'm having to pay for everything, and it's not fun. But in other news, it looks like I have everything, for the most part, that I need for this office, at least either now in the office or on its way. So like I said, I think we're still operating on that Monday timeline of having everything pretty much up and running. I just need to order my dry erase board, and that'll be it essentially. Or maybe I should just continue to use the dry erase board up there. I mean, why pay for another one if there's already one in here? But at the same time, when they have like conferences or people are using the boardroom, then I'm not going to be able to use it. But then again, there are other conference rooms with boardrooms. I mean, with dry erase boards. So, I don't know. I'm going to think about it. The work never stops, you know. Certainly feels that way. I had a double cheeseburger today. It wasn't that great. One thing I forgot to get is a new trash can. I need a bigger trash can. Well, my day was going pretty well until I just watched that NBA draft. And the Celtics drafted some dude from Indiana. I don't know. Kabengele was on the board. We needed a power forward. We needed a center. We needed a point guard. They drafted a shooting guard. Especially given the fact that Kabengele is like the nephew or cousin of Dikembe Mutombo. The guy can shoot a three, and he can post up on a low block. I mean, that's what you want. You want complete players. I mean, you have Tatum, you have Jaylen Brown, you got Marcus Smart, you got Gordon Hayward. All these guys are somewhere between 6'6", 6'9", and you draft a 6'6" shooting guard. I mean, I don't understand it. It's not meant to be understood, I guess. The Spurs at least saved the day and drafted a guy, Luka, who probably is going to be like an outstanding international player. Oh well, I'll see you guys later. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, friends, Romans, countrymen, enemies. Yes, even I see some enemies. No, seriously though. Hey, we I think are on episode 25. Today, we're going to talk about other types of accidents related to commercial vehicles. So accidents that are wrecks that may not necessarily be on the road, but things that do happen when you're dealing with commercial motor vehicles, usually in loading and unloading places, but there are some other situations too. Now, I will ask you to excuse my writing today because the pen or marker that I was using was dying, so I had to kind of just hurry up and put this up here, and you may not be able to read it very well, but I'm just going to go ahead and try to go through it very briefly. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was one of my old jobs, and that's working as a forklift driver, or that was part of my job description as a forklift driver, but forklift accidents. there are four ways pretty much that forklift accidents can occur when you're dealing with commercial motor vehicles, all right? So the first one is the tractor trailer rolls away from the loading dock. Now, if you are not familiar with what a loading dock is, I invite you to come visit me sometime over here on my side of town, and I can show you a number of loading docks for commercial motor vehicles. But most people have seen those. Most people are familiar with what that is. It's basically where the 18-wheeler or the tractor trailer is backed up. They back the trailer up to a loading dock. It usually has like a kind of like a cushion or a pad to stop the trailer from damaging the actual dock. But once they pull up to the dock, you can open up the canopy or whatever you want to call it. I forgot. I'm tongue tied right now. But you open that up, and the forklift can drive in and take the merchandise off of the back of the trailer. Now, some of the modern loading docks have attachments where the loading dock will attach to the trailer so that it won't move or budge while the while the forklift is moving back and forth. And the thing too is that forklifts aren't always the same, because like I said before, when I worked in a home improvement store for about, I want to say 4 or 5 years maybe before I went to law school, we had one type of forklift that I would use to unload lumber. We had another type of forklift that was kind of more of a stand-up forklift that you would use to take the and I don't even know if that was a forklift, honestly, now that I think about it, because they just took like tile and stuff like that off the truck with that. So disregard that. Yeah. But either way, there are cases out here where people use forklifts to unload merchandise off of the back of 18-wheelers. So that is the number one way that an accident can happen with a forklift in a commercial motor vehicle, is that the tractor trailer somehow rolls away from the loading dock, and it puts the forklift driver in a very horrible situation. Number two is a trailer floor collapse. So a trailer floor collapse could be, the wood in the trailer is damaged or it's rotting out, and someone hasn't went in there and visually inspected the trailer since the last time before they loaded this last bit of cargo up. So it's very important to always inspect the trailer before they put another load in it. But that's another way that someone can get severely injured in a forklift accident with a commercial motor vehicle. Because what will happen is you will roll out there into the trailer, and it can get so dark in there at times you can't see. You could just pretty much collapse right through the floor. And if you have never rolled a forklift, it's a pretty heavy piece of machinery. It's something that you can definitely, if it was to tip over one way or another, a lot of forklifts don't have guards necessarily to protect your arms and legs from falling out of the seat when it tips over. They have kind of beams, but those beams won't protect you. If you just instinctively put your arm out, you probably end up losing that arm. The third thing is pulling away from the loading dock. So what that means is if the tractor trailer feels, or if the truck driver isn't aware that they're still pulling cargo off of that trailer, and he or she prematurely pulls away, is another situation that could drastically affect the health and safety and well-being of that forklift driver. The last thing is a mechanical defect with the landing gear. Now, a mechanical defect with the landing gear should really be able to be inspected visually by the truck driver when they get there, as well as the forklift driver or whatnot. But usually the truck driver should be able to tell that the landing gear, something is wrong with it. If there is something wrong with it, that could potentially cause the trailer to tip over when the forklift enters the trailer, and that could, like I say, result in a catastrophic injury to the parties involved. So, one thing I want to talk about briefly is that OSHA regulations require chocks placed under the tires of a trailer attached to a tractor by forklift. Okay, but the thing about it is that generally with these OSHA regulations, Generally speaking, the forklift driver is supposed to be responsible for ensuring that the wheels are chocked and the parking brake is set and all that jazz. However, industry practices dictate that the truck driver is usually going to handle this situation. I mean, there are not many guys that were in my position when I worked in a place like that. They're going to go into this guy's truck and tell him, hey, I'm going to set your parking brake for you, and I'm going to do all your chocks for you. And sometimes, depending on who it is, they may not want you to chock their truck. They may want to chock it themselves because they feel like, well, if something goes wrong with this truck, it's going to be on me. So I want to make sure that I'm doing it and no one else. Other times, they may have you assist them or help them chock the trucks or whatnot. But you're definitely probably not going to step into the cab of that truck and, deal with the parking brakes and stuff like that. So that situation can set up a comparative negligence debate between the forklift driver's failure to follow the OSHA standards and the industry standard that the truck driver failed to follow as well. This is if an injury results. Who are you going to blame? Are you going to blame the forklift driver for not doing what OSHA says, that he's supposed to chock it and set the parking brake? Or are you going to place the blame on the truck driver, who shows that in the industry, no matter what OSHA says, in the industry it's accepted that the truck driver is responsible for chocking the tires and for setting the parking brake. So that's something to think about. On to B, garbage trucks involving pedestrians. Now this is a very brief rundown, so I'm just going to talk about the fact that we all know that garbage trucks, we know what garbage trucks are. And we know what they do. We know that they operate usually in very highly populated areas. They make frequent stops throughout the city, throughout your neighborhood. They use very, very, very intensive machinery that can pick up very heavy things, and machinery that can crush very strong materials. So those types of trucks pose a danger to pedestrians because of the fact that they're always on the go, and the truck driver cannot always see necessarily everything around them. Now, most garbage trucks do have rear view cameras, but if there is an issue with that rear view camera and the person that's working those on the back of that truck, and sometimes they're not working, sometimes they're doing it by themselves now because they have that mechanical arm, that can cause a catastrophic injury to a passerby. Because if the garbage truck driver is not paying attention, or if the mechanical arm is faulty for some reason, that could potentially hurt someone. So that's another situation that can end up with a negligence claim and is related to commercial vehicles. The last thing I wanted to talk about is disabled passengers on a transit bus, right? So we all know what transit buses are. We all know what Metro is. So we're all familiar with that type of thing. We're also familiar with the fact that we have a law called the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA. And this whole ADA, with Disabilities Act, is situated around the idea that you must provide reasonable accommodations for disabled passengers boarding buses. Well, for anything really, in any type of situation, dealing with a variety of people. But for this particular situation, we're talking about boarding buses. Okay, so when we're dealing with a negligence claim, dealing with a transit bus, what are some of the things that we would look at if we were handling a bus accident claim? Well, the number one thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the training material for the bus drivers. What are they supposed to do? Has Metro, the city of Houston, trained these people to properly accommodate people who are disabled? Okay. The second thing we want to look at, and we probably want to get a spoliation letter out, are the cameras on board the bus, the surveillance video. We want to see exactly what did that bus driver do when a mentally impaired person stepped on that bus and then needed to step back off of it and needed help getting down, or needed to be strapped in so that they could be on that they could get on that lift, and they didn't do that. What did the bus driver do? How did they help them? Did they help them? When they failed, what did they do after that? Did they just stand there? Did they just go on about their business? Did they act like they didn't see it? the video will show us. So these are the three things, and I'm going to wrap this up just with this. These are basically the three things that bus drivers are supposed to do when they're dealing with someone who needs some help in this situation. Number one, they're supposed to help people up and down the stairs, and the surveillance video is going to show us that, whether they did it or not. Number two, they're supposed to assist with automated lift systems. So you see sometimes people will get onto a bus and they will be strapped in a wheelchair and they're supposed to be secured in. The bus driver is supposed to be well versed in how that's supposed to be handled. All right? And then third, they're supposed to aid mentally and visually impaired persons. So that may mean helping them get up on the bus, helping them get down off the bus. Okay? So those are these are the three subjects that I want to talk about today: forklift accidents, garbage trucks involving pedestrians, and disabled passengers on a transit bus. All of these relate to our overarching topic. Other types of accidents relate to commercial vehicles. I hope you have a great day if you're watching this in the day, night, whenever. And this is the Big Rig Bull, Texas truck accident lawyer, Reshard Alexander. Have a wonderful evening.